I wanted to tell you what inspired this day and the program for today, because we have looked at the statistics and we discovered that Leicester and Leicestershire is at the top ranking in UK for the number of startups, for the percentage of female entrepreneurs, and for the fact that there is an open and diverse academic community that brings that additional touch of cultural diversity to the region. And clearly, when it is about startups, diversity and ideas and innovation, there is an opportunity for the economic growth in the area, and there is an opportunity for the people and for the well-being of everyone. We want to celebrate this community. We want to put it on stage. We want the best people to have their voice, say what they think, what they are doing, what is their effort in creating opportunities, in transforming the businesses and the economic environment in the region. So the day is very simple in terms of session, and let me say that we have partnered with a number of organizations. We will talk about it to foster, as a university, economic growth in the region. So the agenda is this one. So this is the welcome. I'm going to give voice to Avi from Previsico, a spin-out from the University of Loughborough. They are creating brilliant ideas that safeguard our lives and our properties. And soon after, he will be available, soon after his presentation, he will be available to interact with you and to really asking everything you can. Soon after this session at 11, we will open the mic to 7 presenters that have brilliant ideas they want to share with the people, and we really want to give voice to them, but also we want to the public interact with them. Please use the Q&A facility on Teams and submit your questions. We will relay them to the presenters so that they can respond to them. And finally, at 12, we will showcase how we are working with the funders so to ensure that you can access university talent, and it is free for the businesses to use these talents to their advantage for stimulating growth, developing new products, new services, and new ideas. So I'm giving voice now to Avi. And Avi, welcome.
So yeah, I'm Avi. I'm the co-founder of Previsico. We're a spin-out company from Loughborough University, where I formed the company together with my former PhD supervisor, Professor Yu, a couple of years ago, following quite a long research project with the Cabinet Office, and it was all revolving around flood forecasting. So I can share my screen. So we launched as a spin-out from Loughborough in early 2019 to really achieve our mission of minimizing the impact of flooding globally after we developed a pilot flood forecasting technology at Loughborough. So a bit about kind of the impact of flooding is growing rapidly across the globe and is expected to hit 1 trillion annual losses by 2050. And over the last 20 years, the UN estimates that it's affected over 2 billion people. But when a lot of research has gone into kind of the impacts caused by flooding, and it's very clear that most of them are completely avoidable. And when businesses do take action and people take action before an event hits with an early warning system, then they can achieve very big savings. So we have, a lot of examples now growing, especially in the UK, where businesses are starting to prepare better and take more action. And this is where, especially kind of on the government side, there's been a lot of research on kind of helping people and organizations achieve a flood action plan. But there's and have flood defenses and resilience measures. But where there's always been a bit of an issue, and which is why kind of we started working on this at Loughborough University, is that there hasn't been enough actionable flood warnings available to people, both in the UK and globally. So our story, as I mentioned, it started off as a research project at Loughborough University, and actually started really back in 2014 when David Cameron was responding to the Somerset floods, and he got quite frustrated because no one in the cabinet knew exactly which places were flooding, and he kind of really called on his cabinet to find a solution. So they approached Professor Yu at Loughborough University to develop a new flood forecasting technology that they could use to be able to understand the location of flooding. And I think this image here really kind of describes what the problem is that we do have flood warnings to help people take action in England and across much of the world, but they're only really available for large river systems. Yet most flooding that occurs is from surface water and also from small rivers, and these do not receive flood warnings. So what we did is we developed a new flood forecasting technology at Loughborough University, which could be able to predict the property level where it would flood. And that's me and Professor Yu just there, where we kind of developed a prototype that could then be used by the Cabinet Office. And all of it really began as a Loughborough research project, but we quickly realized it wasn't just government who wanted to use it, it was a lot of other organizations. And we had a lot of support from the Cabinet Office, but we quickly saw that there was a really good opportunity to scale this up, both internationally and also with different organizations. So in 2018, we got Innovate UK funding through something called the Iqr Program. I think it's also available for Leicester students, or Leicester PhDs and postdocs. And it was really a fund to help me conduct a global exploration of what sort of needs were out there across the market. And I had about 240 conversations in 11 different cities across the globe. As you can see from this map and the graph, a lot of it was on the government and the humanitarian side. And we quickly realized there's a big need from a lot of different authorities across both, in the UK, in Africa, Asia, and the US. So we decided to really launch a company. But what we also realized was that, again, there was the wider kind of business community also really wanted this. And the challenge, and I think a big kind of learning phase for me, was really turning this into kind of taking my research hat off and saying, okay, there's a strong need for this technology, and kind of trying to learn a bit more about how we could turn this into a business. And what we realized was that we needed to commercialize the technology a lot more, because it could no longer just be a research prototype, and we needed to work with being able to actually build a team around it and have a lot of financial backing. And I think the issue, especially with some of our initial ideas, was that, well, working internationally can take a lot longer, and there's such a big opportunity here in the UK. So that's really where we started focusing. So we kind of commercialized the technology and immediately partnered with IBM's weather company, where we produced, kind of took their weather forecasts and rolled out our product across the whole of the UK. So developed kind of changed or developed the technology quite a lot. We built a team of now about 15 people, and really kind of focused on making sure that we could scale it up. And what we now do is across the whole of the UK, and we're now scaling up across the US, Japan, and Asia, and other parts of Asia, was to be able to run our simulations and our forecasts continuously, to be able to produce kind of depth and time forecasts nationwide and internationally. So we were live back in November, and here's kind of what we ended up developing. So more kind of a robust across the whole country, a solution that, again, could be used by a wide variety of different industries. And what we have here is, in red, you can see the existing government warnings, and in blue, you can also see our flood forecasts showing a lot more granular depth and time predictions. But does the audience have sound? Are they able to interrupt or to ask questions?
The public doesn't have sound, but please, I invite the public to submit questions to the Q&A into the Teams interface, and we will relay the questions to Avi.
Okay, great. So yeah, please do. Again, I'm interested in like kind of the the perspectives and kind of where everyone in the audience is, so this can be as a beneficial session as possible. So just a bit more about kind of the system, and again more on how it was working. This is, especially last summer, was a really good example of where we really become a lot more valuable. Is that, well, for flash flooding that are not provided by existing government warnings, we were really effective in being able to predict property level flooding across the UK this summer. And we were able, especially with a larger team, to start collecting a lot more data from the ground and being able to assess its performance. And you can see from kind of these images that it was quite effective. And as I mentioned before, we looked at a wide variety of industries, from humanitarian, government, and kind of business owner. And we ended up, while we continue to work across several different industries, and particularly on the government side, we decided to focus on insurance. And the reason is that there's so much that they can save and so much that can be done to improve the relationship that insurance companies have with their customers. So if you look at events like Storm Desmond in the UK a few years ago, that cost insurance industry 1.3 billion, but most of that was avoidable. And events in the US like Hurricane Harvey cost them 33 billion. So what we're working with insurance companies on is kind of being able to warn their customers before an event strikes, and kind of allowing the insurance company to kind of send people to support them, defend their property, move contents to high ground, and especially for businesses also implement their flood action plan. So that might be kind of shutting off power or kind of moving art to higher ground from the basement. And kind of across both insurance and also business, it can then use to mobilize the operations teams, and when they're actually taking a lot more action to minimize their loss, they then can get better insurance. So it was through a lot of discovery that we kind of found that was really our sweet spot and where we could have the biggest impact. And kind of moving forward, and we've realized that in order to keep leading the way in terms of being able to be the best provider of flood forecasting, we approached Leicester and worked with Sarah Johnson to produce satellite image capability, where we continuously integrate satellite images into our products so we can calibrate them and keep being able to produce the best quality kind of information on flooding after the event as well as before it. And it kind of, from us, the future is, well, we're having a lot of success in insurance. We see there's a lot of other industries, a lot of other organizations that really need this. And in particular, kind of on the humanitarian side, we're continuing to do work, and it's a key part of our company mission. So I think it's having that solid basis as a company has allowed us to grow quite a lot and look to the future, especially on some of these other industries, and also being able to tackle them a bit more globally. So yeah, thank you for listening. Given that I don't really know the sort of audience that were going to attend this, I'd be happy to kind of answer questions or kind of listen to anyone else who wants to kind of have a say. So thank you.
Thank you, Avi. This is terribly interesting. I encourage the public to use the Q&A facility of Teams to submit your questions. Actually, there are a few that were already collected, and there are a few that I really would like to ask. Because one interesting aspect of this company is it is a startup, it is very, very young, and it is made of young people that got out of the university and said, okay, we have an idea, we would like to do something. So, how many of you were at the beginning? How many of you are now?
So it started off for me and my professor, Professor Yu, so it was just two of us kind of working on the discovery side. So he was working on the technology, I did kind of working on discovering the market. When we formed the company, we built the business plan, and the university employed Jonathan Jackson, who's previously kind of worked on several startups before, mainly just to advise us on, again, because neither Depung or myself have ever really started a business before, so there's a lot for us to learn on kind of the business plan. So he was initially an advisor, but I think we really liked the work that he was doing with us, and we also could see that, and he also really wanted to join in. So we invited him to be our CEO. I think having someone, especially with more commercial experience, was absolutely crucial in order to kind of have a bit more balance to the team. So, help us understand how to talk to investors, how to talk to customers, and kind of being able to make the right decisions to grow. And we also kind of employed a couple more academics from the university. So Dr. William Johnson, who also helped develop this technology, joined the company. So it started off very kind of commercial, technically focused, with myself and Jonathan then leading a bit more on the customer engagement side. And we kind of started building up a lot around the geographical and data side, but also a lot now on the technical side, on our platform and the kind of development environment, and kind of the architecture of all the software. So that needed to be upgraded from kind of the research prototype into the commercial product. And we've, again, as we've continued to grow, we've now been able to also build a bit more of the sales team. So it's kind of, that's now about 15, 16 people in total. So it started off just two.
Wow. Okay, this is very interesting. And I'm receiving a few questions to the public. So one is from Jennifer Thomas. Thank you. That was very interesting, and sounds like there is a huge amount of potential there, not just for the business, but for the users. And so I guess that the intended question is something about, okay, you mentioned who are the users, but I guess that some of users are direct, those that use your service directly, but there are also people that would benefit indirectly. How did you take this into account into your business model?
So could you repeat the question?
No, the question was just elaborating on Jennifer Thomas and what she said about there is a lot of potential, not just for the business, but also for the users. And I guess there are two types of users. One are direct, I mean, the agencies that would use the type of service that you get, but also indirect. Let's say that I am the owner of a property, so I'm not receiving the service from you directly, but indirectly through my insurer. What is the benefit to me, and what is the benefit to the insurer, for instance?
So I think it's just going back to the core mission that we have is acknowledging that most flood impacts are avoidable, and they can be avoided if you know it's coming. So the insurer can provide you with that support. So it's about, if your insurer has this platform, then they can either send you an email or call you up, and or send even some are able to knock on your door and just let you know, we're in the area, we expect a flood in this area, let us know if we can help you. So it's, again, it's something, especially with COVID and some kind of recent scandals in the insurance industry. The insurance industry are really keen to be better at supporting their customers, and this is a great way for them to do that. But then also, again, if you as the kind of insurance client doesn't get flooded, obviously they've saved a lot of money. So it can be a big win-win, which is, I think, why it's such a sweet spot in terms of kind of working with both the insurer to support their customers. So we're kind of working with two people at the same time.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question from an anonymous attender who says, is this available as an app for the general public?
Not yet. But again, it depending on your insurer, they might be able to provide it in an app. and also over time, I hope it will be able to become more widely available to members of the public. But again, do message me and I'll let you know when it's going there. You can be one of our first users.
Okay, great. I have one on my side, actually from a professor, Reiko Hecker, and he was asking, what is your experience working with students on software development or consultancy projects?
It's a good question. So we've through the Santander internship scheme, we've brought in a few interns, both last year and then 2 more this year, and especially this year, it was very good. We decided to offer both of them placements for the whole year, and so we've now got 2 Loughborough students who are in their second year, but now doing full year placements with us, and they are very smart and very effective. So we're really enjoying that, and it's served us very well. And also kind of on the people straight out of PhDs, we've got a couple. So I think it's something that we're really, especially obviously there's different skills that you develop as students from undergrad, but also from the PhD side. So especially doing a PhD, your scientific background is kind of ideal for us. And from the student side, just being able to kind of work, especially either on the data or kind of the engagement with potential clients, is something that we've been really impressed by, kind of the students who joined us.
Okay, and I would like to confirm with you something, that this type of schemes, like the Santander, for instance, are open to you, not just because you are a university spin-off. I understand that this type of schemes are available to any company in the region. Is it correct?
That is correct, yes. So it's available to every company. I think I was particularly aware of it because as Loughborough spin out, I saw Santander around. I think they gave me some money during my PhD, so I knew that they had something to give, which is why I found it. But again, this is also especially kind of a Leicester. We've now the applications have closed. I wonder if, but again, we had an MPhil for project on the satellite work with Sarah Johnson. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to be able to come engage with industry, either funded or directly by kind of the grant or just directly with the company too.
Yes, the perspective is always dual, from the point of view of the student that they have an opportunity, and from the point of view of the company, which is about tapping into fresh talents and fresh ideas. There is another question. Do you have any data to show whether dredging is beneficial or counterproductive?
It's not our focus as a company. I think there's a lot of engineering companies who work on it. I think it's one where, at least my understanding from kind of more of my scientific background, was that in some cases it works, in many cases it doesn't, but it's not our focus.
Mm. Okay,
it's very critical, so I think it's probably best for me to try and avoid that entirely.
Yes, this is very interesting anyway. So, I have another question from Reiko Hecker, which is, what are the risks you see or actual problems that you encountered as a startup?
Well, I think there's many, especially with COVID, is the whole landscape evolved very quickly. So, there's one company that was very keen to work with us, and now they've gone out of business. But then there's others that realized they're about to be hit by a big flood over the winter, so they want to work with us even more because they've got work from home. So I think there's, especially over the last year, there's been a big shift in the whole economy and how people work, and it just really keeping ears to the ground and understanding the implications of everything and how everything is changing and what new challenges it spits out is so important. From in terms of other risks, there's being ambitious is really important, but then obviously we need to be grounded. So again, deciding on what we're going to do and then focusing on that is something that we, especially kind of on developing our UK-US solutions, but not trying to get overly ambitious with kind of resources we have. And I think, focusing on where we feel the biggest opportunities are, because you can't do everything.
Okay, and I have another question here from SZ. Which satellite data are you using?
It's a good question. So there's a lot of satellites that we use indirectly, and then a lot that we have access to. So, for example, IBM's weather company have a variety of different satellites that provide us with weather data. In terms of kind of flood detection, we use both optical and radar satellites, and a combination of kind of free and paid for. So there's a wide variety available to us. So it's important to be kind of data agnostic and kind of look, the Sentinel ones from ESA are fantastic because they're free, but sometimes you do need to pay for better quality where appropriate. But especially I think I've been very impressed by what we can do with Sentinel.
Well, I'm a little bit partisan, of course, and I'm supportive of open access data, and really Sentinel from this point of view is quite interesting, and the fact that it is made to foster the economy, because if you can rely on free data, I guess it is something that allows you to create a service without need to pay for the data. I have another question from Reiko Heckel again. It is on a separate conversation. So the question is, back to working with students. So if you think that working with students is good for business, would you prefer academic projects co-supervised by university staff, or do you prefer to employ them directly part-time or as industry placement or internship? So your response should be as a company, of course, not as a university spin-out.
So it's a really, really good question, because it's something we've got experience of both. So, for example, with our work with Leicester, it was working with Sarah Johnson was absolutely crucial, because she is a world-leading expert in her own right on satellite image applications, and she's also been in industry. So I trust her a lot in that she knows what we want, and we're really on the same page, and she's a great supervisor. So she manages that, and we work with the university on kind of allowing her to co-supervise that student. So that works, I think, very well. Again, as interns, we obviously like to just take them in because it's a bit more focused task, especially on the data side. So again, having university involvement, we just need to make sure that we're on the same page. And I think then you just need to be on the same page with the co-supervisor. And that's, again, when it's a bit more of a focused task that we're leading on, that can be a bit more challenging, which is why, again, when we brought in our interns, there's been a very clear separation from the university and the company. So I think where it's easy to have a separation is probably best, but where there's a very obvious crossover, then that can work well too. Yeah.
Excellent. And I have another question from an anonymous attendee. What are you hoping to achieve from today, apart from raising profile for your business software?
So I think it's well, kind of letting people know who are raising a profile, sharing kind of our mission, and if there's students who want to work with us in future, or researchers who want to collaborate with us, or customers on the call. Again, there's a variety of different reasons for us wanting to raise our profile, and a variety of people we want to be talking to. So again, either from kind of researchers who've got expertise in the world of flooding and satellite applications, or programming, or businesses. So I think we're always interested in a variety of different conversations. So again, just letting people know, and if anyone wants to reach out and kind of wants to share our mission, then it'd be great to talk.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, which is mine. From the perspective of a company, how important is for you to utilize national or international resources that are made available by the government to foster economic growth?
So we have received a few Innovate UK grants to date. So that's, again, we wouldn't really be a company, or we'd be a far smaller company without that support. So that's been absolutely crucial right from the start. Again, we were funded by Innovate UK through Iqr to do our market discovery. Then we received a grant to help kickstart the business. And then we got angel investment, but that's kind of been matched also with kind of the government loan. So it's been very crucial right from the start. And I think especially for us, it's really paid off because it's helped us to grow as quickly as we wanted to. So then again, on projects like Sprint that we've received funding to work with Leicester University on, that's been government funded, which again is really invaluable. So I'm very grateful for a lot of the support. I think it's been absolutely crucial for our growth.
Well, clearly, I guess that the point is you have the idea, maybe you might not have all the resources, and the government is happy to help where the ideas are good. And this is relevant. And this is something that always makes me curious. What is the process internally in a team, how an idea is selected and brought forward? For instance, you had already a very good model, but you wanted to improve it. How did you decide to go with satellite data? Why? And how, essentially?
Well, it's part of my background too. So, for example, during my PhD and my master's, I did a lot of work on satellites, so I always knew the application. And I'm really excited by kind of the new satellites that are being developed. And it's, again, an area where there's just such amazing kind of growth, and it's really exciting work going on in this area. So it's one that I could see its benefits straight away. As soon as we formed the company, we knew at some point we'd be using satellites. And it's great that we're able to kind of get that up and running so quickly.
Okay, yeah. This is interesting. I see another question. I need to scroll. So some companies have easy way for the customer to have a first experience like a test drive. Do you have a test drive?
So yeah, I guess we have come demos. I shared a very brief demo earlier, and yeah, you can be able to come test it, and where appropriate, can run it against historical events and kind of show you what we've previously been forecasting for. So I guess our approach is first step is to learn more about the customer, what their problems are, whether flood, knowing where it's going to flood can help them, how it will help them, and then understanding whether our existing tool would have helped them for previous event, and kind of what they want to get out of it. So before kind of running all of these tests, I think first we just need to discover a lot more and listen to their story and their experiences to better understand what it is that we can help them with.
I have a chicken and egg question.
Okay.
First the product or first the client? What comes first for a success story?
For us, for us it was the other way around. So we developed this technology for the cabinet office. So actually it was first the client, but they wanted this solution, so we developed the technology for them. But then it flipped on its head, and we then had this product, and I needed to find out were there more clients for it. So that's normally maybe not the ideal way to do things, but that was exactly what Iqr was all about. It was taking kind of the innovation that we developed at the university and doing some discovery on who can this help and what do we need to change to make it useful for them. So I think it really depends who you are, and I think, again, in terms of why I'm here, I hope that, again, if people, especially at Leicester or anyone else who's listening to this, who have an innovative idea or technology that they've already developed, especially kind of with a world that's changing very quickly now, I'd encourage you to do more discovery with potential users of that, because with things changing so quickly, there's a lot of new applications for different technologies, especially again a lot. I shared an office space in London with a lot of other startups who had a lot of geographical innovative tools, and the ones that are doing really well now are the ones who pivoted as soon as COVID happened. They realized there was a big opportunity for them to help, either by kind of starting to kind of show data on different sites, or even kind of Bluetooth connection, or kind of other ways of being able to detect different applications, and kind of really pivoted. So I think it's just it's about listening and also kind of understanding how the landscape is changing. And if you have something existing that works, that's amazing. But otherwise, sometimes these solutions don't take long to develop if you've got a great idea. So you need both.
Okay, thank you. And you touched a nice and important word, because now COVID is defining our lives right now, and it is defining the way we are doing business. Indeed, some of the conversations later during the open mic session will be around COVID. So how did it affect your business?
So, I mean, firstly, we had to all work from home. And then also we were kind of going on, we just raised some money. So we were then going on a hiring drive. So we had to hire everyone. We had about 5 or 6 people without ever meeting them face to face. But I think given that we're a technology company, it was actually quite straightforward for us to all start working from home. Keeping that going now is especially tough. You know, we started having a few face-to-face meetings over the summer, and now we're all kind of going back into our shells. So it's been tough. In terms of customers, again, the landscape changed very quickly, and we luckily, when COVID hit, we joined the Lloyd's Lab, which is kind of the London insurance market, have an accelerator for kind of startups to work with kind of the leading global insurers to help find solutions to their problems and kind of listen to the market. So what we started during that process is we entered that lab and we were successful, and had so part of the last cohort. And what we then did throughout at least the first few months of COVID was really listen to kind of a few very specific problems and work directly with them to kind of address them. So for us, we did do a little bit of a kind of bit more focused work on kind of developing more bespoke solutions, and that's kind of then fitted really well to where we are now, which is kind of being able to provide now better insurance, or help businesses get better insurance cover. So I think we came out of it very well by actually having that time where we actually used it to get to know some of the customers a lot better.